Hello, everybody. I'm Krunal Nayak, your host for My Australian Journey, and today we have a fantastic guest who is running a great organization in Australia. The organization name is Professional Migrant Women, and that aim of this organization is to help all the migrant women coming to Australia. And Fabiola has done great job running this successful organization over the years. So rather than wasting time, I will ask Fabiola to introduce herself and her achievements. And one more thing I want to add is she is undefeated. Her book Undefeated is great book to read for the all professional migrant women who are coming to Australia. So hi Fabiola, how are you?
Hello, how are you, Kunal?
I'm
Thank you
good,
so much. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for that warm introduction.
Great.
I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation.
Not a problem. Thank you. See, it's been fantastic. We are our aim for this podcast is to bring those migrant women here, any migrants, pretty much, and who are doing extraordinary work in the field. And your work is amazing, and helping people who are migrant and recently moved to Australia. So please tell us about what you do in that particular organization.
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, I started Professional Migrant Women with the aim of closing the gap between migration and professional employment for women.
You're right.
So there was one thing that I noticed personally from my own experience, but also from the experience of other women that have become friends along the way.
Mhm.
I often refer to myself as the superwoman.
Right.
Back when I was living at home in Venezuela.
Right.
I felt very confident about my skills, about my abilities. I must say, I don't think I've ever been, the smartest, the greatest, the best, but I thought I did all right.
No, that's great. Yeah, no, you're doing fantastic. So
Oh, thank you. Yes,
tell me
but what
about
I'm
the
saying is that
organization itself. What
yes,
you do in the organization. So let's say if some migrant women come to Australia and if they found out from our video or any other resources and social media everywhere, how the organization helped them. Could you please
yes.
introduce that a little bit?
How does the organization help?
Yes.
One of the things that we know is that there are many talented migrant professionals in Australia
Yeah.
that are not able to find a professional job in their field.
Right. That's the
And
biggest struggle ever.
sorry,
That's the biggest struggle ever for the
that is
migrants. Yes.
that is a very common struggle for migrants. Now, one of the things that I realized after being 15 years in Australia as an adult and as a professional is that in the very early stages of my process, I did receive a lot of support
Right.
from family and friends. So I got to learn how to apply for a job, how to do a CV, how to do a cover letter, how to address a selection criteria.
Mhm.
Because even though I thought I knew how to do a CV, the way of doing a CV in Australia is very different to what I was used to in Venezuela.
Right.
So one of the things that I noticed was that many of the other migrant women or friends that I've met, they have some assumptions just like me. Well, I know how to do a CV.
Mhm.
I know how to do a job interview. I
Right.
know how to get a job because I used to do that in my country and I did that very well. And the thing was that, well, there is a cultural context to all of these processes that I didn't know, that I learned along the way, and that I noticed that other people didn't know about. And that's why they struggled so much.
Right.
And that's why they felt so frustrated because they thought they were doing the best. They thought that, oh, I have a fantastic CV, I have a lot of experience, and I'm not even getting a call for an interview.
Right. Right.
So
That's yes.
what we do with in our organization, what we were doing in our mentoring program was to help women close that gap.
Great.
See, uh, again, one of the things that we know is that we have an amazing pool of talent
Right.
with skills and experience.
Right.
See, this pool of talent only needs a little bit of support. And it's about closing that understanding of how to get a job here in Australia.
Right.
But if you think about this, it's a very low cost investment for, say, the government or even for the own professionals. You don't have to study a whole degree. You don't have to do a whole new course. You just need to learn how to find a job in Australia.
Correct.
And that is a skill on itself. And that is what we try to achieve with the mentoring program at Professional Migrant Women.
Right. Okay. So you found that particular key, I would say, that how to find a job in Australia, and you and this organization help other women to get in Australia and get into their field of job, that how to find a job, how to find design a resume, how to design a cover letter according to the employer's need, and that helped them to get a particular job that they desire to get in Australia. So
Absolutely.
how many women your organization has helped so far?
Well, directly they have been more than 100 women, because we used to run the program twice a year with a maximum of 10 people. So say every semester we might run 1 or 2 sessions.
Yep.
So a maximum of 20 people. But so it's been hundreds of women that we have helped directly. However, through our other work that we do and the connection that people form through our organization, it is fascinating how I hear stories about, oh, I found a job through Professional Migrant Women. I'm thinking, but she's not one of our mentees. Like, I don't know. And it's because maybe they just made a connection in one of our events. Maybe just they met another woman in one of our groups.
And then they guide them. Right. So it's a chain things that happens. Right. If I got a guidance, then I guide someone else to how to do it.
Yes.
And that's how they get, oh, wow. Fantastic.
Yes.
Great.
And the other thing, if I might add, is that that's really important to what we do, and it's about connection. See, when we migrate, usually we are on our own. Say you come with your partner or you come with your family. Well, you're still on your own.
Correct.
Because you don't have your natural networks. You don't know anybody in the industry. You don't know how to.
You know nothing about Australia.
Nothing.
Nothing. We don't have those sort of training overseas. Like when we are overseas, we don't have that sort of training, like how to behave in the different culture, right?
No.
So, that's.
And we just assume. I think most people assume that, okay, you just behave the way that you always have, and that will be enough. And it's not to say that you have to become something that you are not.
Right.
Because I think it's very important to bring your whole self, but it's about learning new things, new way of thinking, and expanding your own personal experience. Right. So through one of the things that we do as well is that we have public events, networking events.
Right.
Mainly, obviously geared towards women, but we welcome men as well.
That's what my next question is going to be.
So for all our public events, yes, we welcome men, we welcome locals, we welcome internationals. It doesn't matter. Anybody. Because we live in a community.
Yes.
In a community where we interact with everybody. Yep. And we want to bring those people along on the journey with us. So our networking events are a fantastic way to connect with other people in Melbourne, particularly, that have gone through the same situation that you have, and that can that you can identify with, that can give you a light, a ray of light, and
At
a
least
light
a
at
ray of
the
hope.
time.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. Not great. And tell me about your book. So, what is Undefeated?
Oh, thank you for that question. If I may, so let's see. So
Yes,
this is our book.
fantastic cover. Fantastic. It's okay. The cover itself says that yes, I'm undefeated.
Yes.
Yes.
So during our mentoring program, we used to invite guest speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So every week or every session, we had a different guest speaker.
Yeah.
And this speaker was a migrant woman that had found their job or their place in the Australian workplace. And we had people, from entry level to very senior management. So sometimes there were people that just found their first job, in that year, or people that have made a career in Australia.
Right.
The one thing about those talks is that they were so enlightening and so inspirational and so motivational,
For sure.
and you only got to hear, some of the stories, because obviously not everybody, you only have a capacity for a certain number of people in every mentoring session.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we always said to ourselves, oh, we should record the sessions, we should capture these stories. They are so good. Oh, did you hear what she said? That was so good. Oh, we should take notes. We were thinking of a way of sharing this knowledge, because it was really inspirational.
It's inspirational, yes, and insightful that someone's experience who has vast experience in the field and they talk about something. So, oh yes, this should be helpful to someone at this point.
Absolutely. So we thought, all right, yes. Somebody, actually, one of the mentors said to me, Fabi, why don't we write a book? I said, that's a good idea.
Right.
Oh God, I just didn't know what I was getting myself into. Luckily. But yeah, we thought, okay, maybe we can get about 20 stories. That will be fine. And what happened was that we decided to put a call out to the community and ask for stories. Maybe some 20 stories. We got more than 130 submissions.
Wow. Fantastic. Great.
And
This book includes the stories of the migrants who have done extraordinary work, isn't it?
Well, not necessarily all of them. So not all the stories are about extraordinary work.
Yeah, okay. Right.
So there are some stories of struggle. There are some stories of identity.
Right.
There are some stories of transitioning from, finding your first job as a waitress, or, struggling with discrimination.
Yes.
Oh, we also have some stories of domestic violence. And we also have, the success stories,
Great.
So it is a fantastic picture of what it's like to be a migrant and a migrant woman.
Right.
And with all the highs and lows, the goods and the bads. But I feel, and that's the feedback that we have got from many readers, is that people can see themselves in these stories, and that they can see some hope for themselves. They don't feel alone.
Right.
They feel that they can overcome that struggle that they are facing, because other people before them have done it as well.
And they've gone through the same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, great. Excellent. See, I appreciate that. So basically, okay, so if somebody wants to get the book, where do they get it from?
Right. Right now, anybody can purchase the book through our website. And that's the easiest way to get it. We also have in Melbourne, we are selling in the city at the QV, the Queen Victoria Women's Centre at the shop. So we have the book for sale. So if you are in the city and you don't want to pay for shipping, just swing by the QV Women's Centre and you can get your book. Or you can also get the book, our events, public events.
Public events, right. Okay,
Yes.
great. So the book is publicly available on your website and in the shops as well. Great.
Yes. We also have an ebook in Amazon for those overseas that would like to get the book. Yeah.
Great. So tell me about your journey writing a book. Like, is this your first book so far?
God, yes. And I have to clarify, I'm not an author in the book. Yeah. What I did was to bring the team together and coordinate everything. So I suppose I see myself more as a project manager or a publisher of some sort.
Right.
But we had an amazing team working with us. In fact, we have more than 100 stakeholders in this project. It was a mammoth of a project. But it was a project that also brought us lots of challenge, but a lot of achievement, and sense of fulfillment.
Yes.
Because when you read the stories and when you meet the women behind those stories, you realize that it was important for them to share that story.
Correct.
When we try to go behind or beyond what's written in the paper, you can see that these women were in a mission. These women had something to say.
Yes, they have guts to say. I would say that.
And they just found that platform. And I tell you what, every day I get more requests. When are we writing the next one? I couldn't send my story to the first book.
Why don't you start a Facebook page where you keep posting the stories?
I know. It's really amazing.
Do you mind sharing one of the most interesting story that touched your heart?
Look,
in 2 minutes, yeah, if you can.
Look, there are quite a few. So there's one of the authors that writes to her dad. She tells a story of when she arrived to Australia and she was talking to her dad on the phone about her situation. And that really touched me because I'm also very close to my dad, and I could relate to her words. I also relate to some of the stories that talk about feeling invisible as a migrant, not feeling recognized, being overlooked. So I have felt that myself. I have struggled in my relationships, and there are some stories about that, and I can relate to some of those stories as well. So again, there are so many things in there that you can that you can identify with, that and it could be the highs and the lows. It's just and see, the beauty of the stories is that some of them are really intense, but some of them are also bring you that sense of calm or peace.
Yes.
I think that having a book that is
some stories get you like full of adrenaline and adventure. Some brings you to the things that you feel for them, and some stories inspire you as well, right? So that sort of stories.
Yeah. The other thing about the book that I love personally is that our stories are anything between 100 and 500 words.
Wow. So that's short stories. So
very short stories, all of them. And that means that you can grab your book, open it in any random page, and you will have a 1 to 3 pages story that you can read straight away.
Right.
So I think that's pretty special. I feel sometimes that the book is like an oracle to me, like what am I feeling today? What is the advice that I need today? And I go and I open the book and I find something that, it might talk to me that day or might not, but it's always good.
Yes. No, right, great. See, that's something I would say from your talk, that this book itself is an inspiration for those who are feeling left behind or unrecognized, or something that they feel to have in their career or in themselves. The insight they can get from, they can relate the stories, and they can feel better, like I'm not alone in this world in Australia, that I'm not only the migrant who is facing these issues or facing this progression or something like that. So I would recommend all our viewers to go and buy the book and have a read. That will definitely help them to get a good vibe, how to get settled in Australia. So
Yes.
Fabiola, let's start with your journey. So yourself a migrant as well. So how let me tell you first that who inspired you to come to Australia? What is the inspiration behind, like from Venezuela to Australia? What brings you here?
Oh, so my inspiration was my dad,
Right.
100%.
Great.
So my parents used to live here in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was studying. He's a medical doctor, and he used to study, he was studying a kidney specialization.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived in here for 2 years. I was born here in Australia during that time. So and then the family went back to Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in Venezuela, of Venezuelan parents.
Mm-hmm.
I hold dual citizenship since birth,
Right.
both Australian and Venezuelan. But growing up, I just heard the most amazing stories, beautiful stories about Australia from my dad, especially.
Right.
My mom also had really good memories about Australia, but for my dad, living in Australia was one of the best experiences in his life.
Right.
Anything, from wildlife to food to cultural experiences to, friends and neighbors, my dad loved it all. And for whatever reason that I still.
I got a question here.
Yeah, sure,
Your
sure.
dad is a medical doctor. He was studying here. Can I ask this? Like, why dad choose to go back to Venezuela at first place?
Venezuela was a great place to live.
Right.
Number one, and number two, he had a commitment with the university.
Right.
So he got a scholarship to come here.
Right. And he studied here, and then he went back.
Yes,
So Venezuelan people, like his own people, right?
that's right. That's right. Yes.
So at what age you went back to Venezuela?
6 months old.
6 months only. All right. So you just spent 6 months in Australia and then
That
went.
was it.
Right. So when you came back in Australia, at what age?
So at the age of 27, I moved to Australia by myself.
Right.
As an Australian citizen, I had the right to come and live here.
Yep. So let's say you came as a migrant, like someone who got permanent residency overseas, and they just jump in a new world, right? So
Yeah. So
how was the initial first 6 months? Tell us about that.
Right. So I grew up knowing that I was Australian.
Right.
And I came to Australia to see my
country.
my country, my birthplace, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I think it only took me less than an hour since the time I get off the airplane to realize that I was a migrant in this country.
Even being a citizen.
I am a citizen. I was a citizen, but so first of all, I didn't speak the language.
Yep.
That was a huge barrier for me.
You don't speak English at all when you came in?
No, the basic things, hi, hello, please, thank you.
Yeah.
But I couldn't have a conversation.
Right.
I did struggle a lot. And I did study English for about 2 years or so. So one, I didn't know the language. So I just imagine remember myself coming through the airport and trying to
Figure
you
out.
know, figure out, yeah. I mean, I could see, okay, exit, okay, or
Yeah.
luggage claim,
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
things. Okay, yeah. Um, but the main thing was that I brought some food, some biscuits from Venezuela.
Yeah.
So they say, well, if you have something to declare, you have to go on to that
A different line.
line.
Yeah.
And the customs officer saw my card. In my card, it says, that I'm a criminologist. They ask profession, I put criminologist. Citizenship Australian. And then I think, where did I board the place? And Venezuela or something, right? So, and do you have something to declare? Yes, I have some food to declare. So he goes,
Right.
and with my very broken English, I said, "Oh, sorry, could you please speak slowly?"
Right.
And then he was like, and I felt, oh my God. See,
God.
that's when I felt for the first time that I was a
That's-
migrant.
yeah.
Now, the next thing he said, the next thing I picked up from what he was saying was, how come
Right.
you said that you are a criminologist? So he
Yeah.
said, blah, 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 criminologist, blah,
Yes.
blah, 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 Australian,
Yeah.
and blah, 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 you can't speak English.
Right. Right.
So what he
Okay.
thought
So
was,
you got that. Why you become Australian citizen? You're a criminologist and you can't speak English. Wow.
so
Wow.
how come you say that you are a criminologist and you're Australian and you can't speak English?
Correct. Correct. Wow. Okay. And so what was
So
your
how can I explain that if I don't even know how to speak the language? And I
answer?
just started crying.
Oh my God. Oh my God. For you. Oh.
So that was my reaction, and that was my welcome to Australia.
Oh my God.
Um,
Oh my
a committee, I suppose, and he didn't have anything like he checked my bags. He couldn't do
God.
anything against me. He couldn't hold me back. I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So he just didn't have anything against me to hold me back, and he had to let me go.
Yeah.
But that was, my
Was it
introduction to
Melbourne or
Australia.
where you
Was in
live?
Melbourne. It was
Melbourne.
Melbourne.
So
It was
you
Melbourne.
you landed in Melbourne and you just made it home. Have you ever moved around or you just stayed in Melbourne ever?
I stayed in Melbourne. Look, I've asked myself that question many times. I was born in Melbourne. If I came to Australia, well, I wanted to come to the place where I was born, and then in here I started doing my life, and it was okay to stay here.
Yeah, perfect. And it's a beautiful city, right? It's fantastic.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
it is. It's a gorgeous city.
So now you arrived. So do you know anyone in Australia who came here to receive pick you up from the airport and finding accommodation? How was it? What year we
Right,
talking about? This year, like what year we talking about? 2000,
4.
2004, right? So
So
how was back in there, like accommodation? Was it easy to find or it was easy?
I was very lucky. I was very,
Great,
very
great.
lucky because, see, from the time my parents lived here,
Mhm.
um, we had a very good friend.
Good.
Um, so he's a Catholic priest
Mhm.
that became really friend with my family. And even when we went back to Venezuela, we stay in touch. He came to visit us in Venezuela twice, and so by the time I was ready to come, of course, I call him and I say, "Hey, I'm coming," and he said, "I will be waiting for you here to
Wow,
welcome you,"
great.
and he was.
This
The beauty of having somebody like him was that he did arrange accommodation for me
good.
before I arrived.
Before
And
you arrived. Wow, that's great. That's
yes,
great.
so by the time I arrived, he picked me up from the airport, and then he drove me to the accommodation. And I lived there for about 2 months.
Where was
And
it? Where was it? What suburb you lived in?
it was Hampton Park.
Hampton. Wow.
It
Okay.
was Hampton Park. Um, No.
That's okay. That's okay. Keep
Anyway,
going.
but it was western suburbs.
Right.
So it was in the western suburbs. I can't remember the name of the suburb right now.
Hoppers Crossing?
But sorry,
Hoppers Crossing?
actually, sorry.
Yes. Hoppers Crossing, right?
No,
No?
it was in the eastern suburbs,
Okay. Okay, right. Right. Okay.
close to Hallam.
Close to Hallam, yes,
Actually,
yes. Hampton Park,
yes,
yes. That's right, right, right.
yes. So in that area, and I lived there for 2 months, and then I moved into another accommodation. So I started my English classes,
Mhm.
and I went to TAFE to study English.
Yep.
And then I enrolled into university after studying 1 year of English.
Right. So what you studied here?
A Master of Business Administration at Swinburne University.
Wow. Okay. And how was the experience?
Hard. Look,
Oh my God.
after 1 year of studying English, my English wasn't really good.
Right, right.
It wasn't still very good. It wasn't at the level I wanted it to be. When I went to university in Venezuela, I was really competent in Spanish.
Right, right.
Right. And I didn't have the same level of competency in English. And that made me feel really frustrated and it was hard. However, the good thing about university is that you learn to understand the Australian system.
Yep.
You learn to pick up the social cues, you learn to the expectations, the culture, and the other thing that you do at uni is that you start building connections, building your networks, all of those things that you lost when you move to this new country. Then that's a chance, an opportunity for you to start building your connections again. And also professional connections, right? That's the other thing that Swinburne gave me. I didn't have that in TAFE. People were at very different levels, but at uni, everybody was, at that professional level that was important for me and that I needed at the time.
What was your first job in Australia?
First job, I I was working for the church with my friend, and I was doing the accounts, so I always been very good with computers and Microsoft and stuff like that. So I was doing some of those things for the church and reconciling the accounts and whatnot. It was good because I didn't have to speak.
Oh yeah, good.
So I only have to punch numbers, so I could do that in English or Spanish. So that was my first job. So again, very privileged, I suppose, because it was a safe job, and it was easy compared to some of the things that people have to do when they just arrive. Like, some very physically demanding jobs like cleaning or waitressing or in the service industry. That could be hard, especially if you haven't done that for a while,
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. So let's say after that job was during the study or after study?
During studies. Yes.
Right. So
absolutely.
when you finish your study and if you started looking for a professional job in your career, how was the struggle? How easy was it? Was it easy? Was it struggleful? How you get into it?
Very hard. It was really hard. And I think it's important for people to realize that finding your place might take some time, and it's different for everybody. So this is my story, and I don't want people to believe that that's going to be their story, right? So for me, the main difficulty was the language.
Right. I get it.
The other thing that was a big struggle for me was that I was applying for government jobs.
Right.
And in Australia, when you apply for a government job, you have to do something that is called, you have to address a key selection criteria.
Yeah.
A key selection criteria is a list of, questions, sometimes 6 to sometimes 10 questions. I think the longest I did was 18 questions. Well, that was ridiculous, but it's an essay,
Hmm.
you know. Every question you have to answer in certain way, and that was hard, that was really hard.
Okay,
Consider,
I'll stop you there.
yes,
See, right now I deal with a lot of international migrants every day, right? So I know that like they know what is a resume or what is a CV, but this thing, most of the people don't even know what is the key selection criteria. Could you please start from the beginning and explain in a little bit of details and then let people know that what is the key selection criteria and why is important first? That's the first thing, because that is out of the clue for 60%, I would say, not everybody, but 60% of the people, it's out of their mind. Like, what is the key selection criteria and why is important?
well, the key selection criteria is an instrument that is used mainly by government organizations, also sometimes non-for-profit organizations, to screen candidates,
Right.
and to do a shortlisting. The idea behind a key selection criteria is that a person can demonstrate their capabilities through the list of criteria that they have.
Right.
So, for example, some common things that you can find in a key selection criteria are ability to work independently and as a part of a team, ability to communicate in writing, speaking, or do presentations and so on. Usually they ask about your qualifications and experience, and they might ask you about your project management skills. I mean, the key selection criteria is actually tailored to the position.
Right.
So there are some questions that are maybe applicable to most positions, but there are some questions that are very specific about the position. So say, for example, if you are in IT, they might ask you about your skills in, I don't know, customer service or programming or, IT help desk and so on. Now, there is an expectation that for each of these questions, you have to write about 200 words or so. I mean, we're talking about half a page. And there is a structure on how to construct or address each of those selection criteria, and that on itself is such a learning curve. Is a learning process. Now, that was a big struggle for me, but when I look back, I also realized that every time I completed a key selection criteria, I was learning something.
Correct.
I was learning something about myself. I was getting more clarity about who I was, how I wanted to present myself. But also, I was learning something about the position that I was applying to. And of course, you start applying for positions that are similar. But not all positions are the same. Right?
Correct.
So
even the positions are same, but the key selection criteria could be different, right?
Well, I don't know. In my line of working, there's no two positions the same.
Exactly.
There are some general ones, but when I was, especially at that original stage of looking for jobs, I was applying for different things. So what happened with time was that, okay, I started to notice that some of the questions were reoccurring, right?
Right.
So, well, I actually have addressed this question before. I'm going to put it here. I'm going to copy and paste. So I was building my bank of questions.
Correct.
So all the effort that I have put in writing my application, all that time was actually teaching me, language skills, writing skills, It was teaching me about the industry and about the position, and it was teaching me about myself.
Right. Right.
And I think that, when I look back, I think, yeah, it was all worth it. When I was in the moment, I felt frustrated and I felt desperate. I wanted for things to happen then.
Yes.
I didn't have any patience and I couldn't see the big picture.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what I say to people nowadays, that when you actually approach the job market, when you are looking for a job, keep your mind in the big picture.
Yes.
And understand that recruitment is a game of numbers. The more you apply, the more chances you get to get a job.
Yep. Yep.
So
Right.
if you apply for one job, you don't get it,
Yeah.
you get frustrated and you give up.
And you
I
lose, and
mean,
you work, end up working in the wrong industry. Yeah.
yes. Oh, and then, that's not who we are.
No.
Most migrants I know are not quitters,
No. No.
They are driven, they are
Yes.
ambitious.
Yes.
So, yes, rejection is hard, but we are better than that. We know better than
And
that.
it's a part of the process. Rejection is a part of the process.
Absolutely, absolutely. What did I learn? What did I learn from my last application? That's
That's
what I
important.
can use to keep moving forward.
Correct.
And and there is something that I always say to my mentees is that when you take consistent and intentional steps towards something,
Mhm.
the most likely thing to happen is that you actually achieve that something.
Golden sentence. Golden sentence, I would say that.
So the most likely thing to happen. But
Yeah.
you need consistency and intention.
And patience.
And patience, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen if you apply yourself.
Correct. Correct. You're
So
absolutely
I think this is the other thing that I always say to people, you need to have a marathon mindset,
correct.
not a sprint
Yeah.
mindset.
Yep. Yep.
This is not going to be over in 100 meters.
No. No.
This is going to be over in 42 kilometers, So you just need to
Keep running.
prepare yourself for that run,
It's not gonna happen overnight. You have to build it. You have to build it. Now, absolutely, 100% agree with the things you're saying, that okay, they have to do this. Okay, so with these things, do you feel that migrants, when they come to Australia, they come with a different mindset, and when they come to Australia and realize, oh no, this is something not expected, what are those misconceptions most of the migrant women or any migrants you talk with, you felt? What is the most misconception they have? Like, okay, my misconception was like, when I came to Australia, I thought there'll be a tree in the backyard and the money grows on the tree and people just pick. It's just so easy to make money. But that was my misconception when I came to Australia. Like, it'll be so easy for me to earn money. But yes, and over the time I realized that, okay, no, it's not easy to make money. It's everywhere it's the same to make money. If you, yes, winning a bread is different thing, and making a wealth or building a good career, good wealth, that's a different story. So yes, that was my misconception. So what you face as a misconception from the other migrants?
Okay, personally, I'm going to tell you mine. I thought learning English was going to be easy.
Oh, yes.
I thought, yeah, I know a little bit. So once I'm in the country, that's going to be easy.
Click, yeah.
It wasn't. And so one of the things I said to people when they still overseas, learn as much as you can. Practice every day. Listen to audio, podcast, whatever. But get as much as you can done before you come to Australia. That will help you a lot.
Yes.
Number two, again, I'm speaking from experience and from what I've seen in other people around me. I was a very confident person when I came here. I have achieve all the things that I wanted to achieve in Venezuela. And I was, I just was ready for my next thing. And I knew I had that certainty in my heart that I was going to be able to conquer anything I wanted.
Right.
With the same ease that I have when I was at home.
Right.
And that was a really, really big misconception for me, because it was a huge learning curve, When I thought I could succeed, I did struggle. And you see a lot of professional migrants that come here with qualifications and experience, and they find it hard to get to the same level that they were before coming here.
Right.
Or it is a matter of expectations. So again, if you are one person that is preparing yourself for a marathon, you know that you will be able to hold that position that you have back at home and even higher, but you might need some time to first get here and then keep progressing in your career. I hear some people saying, oh, well, you have to take a step back. I don't necessarily believe that. In some cases that could be true, but in some cases, is other kind of learning that you need to achieve to get you to that level that you want. And sometimes, people get to that level and soon, boom, 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 they keep growing. And it's amazing to watch that.
Great. And fantastic. See, we have talked about the struggle part and all that. So now let's talk about the good part. What is the most beautiful thing happened to you in Australia?
The most beautiful thing, well, look, I have many good experiences,
One of maybe a couple of beautiful that close to your heart.
Well, first, my son. My son was born here in Australia, and he's obviously a very important part of me and my journey and my life. And probably, in the last few years, especially since I started professional migrant women, is to actually feel part of a community. For 15 years in Australia, before I started professional migrant women, I did have friends, and I have some good friends. But since I started professional migrant women, we also have a community. And a community is something that brings you joy, that brings you support, that brings you help, because there is a lot of networking and contact. So probably being part of, and it's something bigger than you. And it's a gift that keeps on giving, And the other thing about being part of a community is not that everything is reciprocated in, one way. Like I do something for you, you do something for me. No. Okay. It's like you do something for somebody and somebody else quite randomly do something for you that you need, So I think it's important to be mindful of that and give generously, and embrace, those that come behind you. And if you believe in karma, then, also good things will happen to you at some point in time.
What goes around comes back around.
Absolutely. That's right.
No, excellent. See, for me, this is the learning that's what I learned, that pretty much, yes, karma is there, like whatever you do, that comes back to you, and that's from personal experience, from others' experience. It's there. So I do a bit of a spirituality and meditation and all that. Do you do that, some sort of spirituality, and are you into it or not? Not at all?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm Catholic by my cultural background and my faith background. So that's the God that I identify with. Yeah. But I also connect. And actually in the past, especially in the past few years, I've been more intentional on my spiritual journey and practicing meditation. I practice daily. I feel that it's really important to keep me centered and ground, and it impacts, the way I give and I show up. So yeah, it's very important.
So after achieving all these, being successful in Australia and guiding that many people, what that one advice you tell younger yourself who just arrived today in Australia? Fab, do this and don't.
Enjoy the moment,
Yes, okay.
enjoy
Great.
every single moment. I think probably for so many years I just tried to rush and to get there, and sometimes you don't get there when you want, or you don't get there the way you expect to get there. But yes, I think it's super important to have a goal, but it's equally important, probably more, to be present in the moment, to learn from the lessons of each day, and to enjoy, the little things. And
have you missed out enjoying in the past? Is that what you tell me?
I'm not so sure if I missed out on enjoying things. Maybe I have, yes. But probably more, dwelling in the bad things that are happening, and keep yourself in that downward spiral, if you like. So pick yourself up, surely there's something good in your life that you can be appreciative of, grateful for, that you can look out to do, and focus on that instead. Life is hard, yes it is, but there are other things that we could do to get ourselves out of this place. And luckily in Australia, even when things are tough, probably they could be much better than what we have at home.
Correct.
So, it's a good place.
Absolutely correct. Yes. And you get support as well, like professional support, I would say that. And see, I'll tell this taboo in like, if you are back home and if you feel depressed or if you feel mentally sick, then people presume that you're gone mad, so that's not here. Like you tell people that I'm depressed and I need help, and you go out. Now things are changing. I'm not saying right now it's the same thing, but back in the days, it was like that. So, and here we get the support, and yes, everything. I agree with you. Yeah. So okay, so let me ask you this. That brings me this question. So let's say someone who wants to come to Australia and they're planning to, like, thinking, okay, should I move or I shouldn't move, going somewhere else, going to get migrated to Canada or US or Australia or anywhere. What are the main things they need to be careful about or think about, that what they can do? The pre-work they have to work, the workout, I would say.
If they're coming as professional, and I suppose that's where I can speak from, I think there's a lot of things that they can do from home that will be more cost effective, number one, and also will reduce that, lagging time since the time you arrive to the time you find your place. Number one, language.
Good. Work on
language is so important.
Yeah.
If English is not your first language, then try to improve your English. And I will leave it as that for that.
Okay, cool.
The second thing is network. In this day and age, we have a fabulous resource called LinkedIn.
Yes.
And I know a lot of migrants I know, they say, oh, but I never use LinkedIn in my home country. Well, you're not in your home country anymore.
Right.
And in Australia, luckily for us, LinkedIn is a thing. And people are really most people are really open to connect with you and to even have a virtual catch up with you.
Right. Right.
So even if I am overseas and I know in which area I would like to work, I will start building my connection with people in that industry or in positions like the one that I would like to have.
Getting to, yes. Right.
Having those one-on-one conversations with local people, say migrants, before you come here will give you a very good idea of what to expect.
The insight, the actual insight, what's happening here, right?
Yes. So I give you an example. I know some women that they are engineers.
Right.
And they go into the job boards and they start looking for engineering jobs, like mechanical engineer. Well, there's not such thing in Australia as a mechanical engineer job. The title of the job is different.
Different, yes.
They might require a mechanical engineer to fill that position, but then start thinking about what is the position? What does it entail? What is a day like in that position? Ask people, how did you find your first job? What did you have to learn? What is useful? So if you start having these conversations, that will also help you. Also, think about, the requirements of your visa. Are you coming here as a student? Are you coming here as a qualified migrant? The different kind of visas and what you can do within those, within what your visa allows you to do. Have an open mind. Good. Prepare to be challenged.
Great.
Embrace challenge.
Yeah.
Embrace challenge. You're like, even when you think, yes, I got this, I'm gonna, like, even the toughest people, they actually get challenged. So be open for that and accept. Okay, this is what challenge looks like. Perfect. Okay, I got it. I can. Yeah. I get this. I got these, and I can overcome these because you can.
Yeah, perfect. That's great. See, this is the basics that they have to work out. So what about you will say about the accommodation, the financial conditions and all that, the current waves that going on, inflation and hikes and interest rate and rents and everything. Is that also something they would look into, or that can be worked out? What's your experience? Yes.
Look, I always try to think on the safe side.
Yeah.
So if you can afford it and you can have some savings, I think that's advisable. If you can have like a 3-month cushion, of savings, that would be great. But I know that's not the case for everybody.
Yes.
And the easiest way to get money is to get a job. And, there's no job that is not worthy of doing. And in every job you will learn something.
Yes.
And if it's nothing technical or any skills, at least you can learn some resilience. You can learn some empathy.
Yes.
You can learn to know yourself a bit better. So welcome every opportunities as it comes, because it's it's an essential part of the journey.
Yeah. All right. So let's say if you get into Australia, you get into this and get a job. So now we move to success. So what you say about success, like what is your definition, like what you define as success means? Is it financial, spiritual, academics, career, or what is success for you?
That's a tricky question.
No, not just you, just for a migrant, I would say.
Yeah, look at it, and everybody can define
different for everybody. Yes, I understand.
Yeah, look, again, this is a question that I ask myself every day, right? And I, okay, have you take your career goals? Have you take your real estate goals. I mean, have you purchased your home? Have you got your car? Have you got your family? Like, I think I will say that success is the attitude that we choose every day
Right.
in the journey, because once you have the career, the house, the car, the position, the kids, there are different challenges, and then the goal keeps moving. Yeah.
Yeah, moving forward. Yes.
But be successful in
Every
everything you do, in every stage of your life. If right now you have to be a waitress, then be the best waitress you can be.
exactly. Exactly.
And be
That's a
really
success.
successful at it.
That's a success. Yes, that's a
I,
success.
I tell you, I tell you a story about that. One of the women that I met in here, she's an engineer. She was finishing her studies in here, I think master studies or something, but she was a waitress. And towards the end of her studies, well, she wanted to start to look for jobs.
Yeah.
But the place where she used to work, and she was such a friendly person, she was such a lovely person, she was amazing. There was a client that used to come, often to that cafe where she worked. And one day, after many, seeing this client for many times, and obviously she made an impact on him, like greeted him all the time, had a relationship, that sort of thing. One day he said, actually, what do you do? Are you a professional? And she said, well, yes, I'm just finishing my master. And what do you do? Well, I'm an engineer. I said, are you? Oh, send me your resume. And she got a job through this customer.
Wow.
First job as an engineer in Australia was through this customer.
Wow. Wow. What an amazing.
Why? Because she was an amazing waitress.
Exactly. Exactly. Just because of her attitude towards the work, then people see your attitude and okay, yeah, this is the right person. If I would have that person in my workplace working for me, I would love it. And yeah, there you go. That's the story. That's the
Yes.
story of the day. You made my
Yes.
Friday. No, exactly, exactly. So let's see. My next question is yes, that was the question, like how you grow in Australia. So that's the way you grow in Australia. You can do these things, like do whatever you do the best, and you never know that where you get picked up from. So yes, pretty much that is the way to grow in Australia, and that's fantastic thing. So tell me about this. How you balance your life? Like you're a mom, you're a professional worker, you manage that many people and all that. How you do it? You told me you're a superwoman, but
No, that's what I used to think when I was in Venezuela,
I
and then I realized that, oh God, that
right.
superwoman kind of died when I came to Australia. But then I have to, resurrect that superwoman somehow,
Right.
by believing in myself. And
So because see, I'll ask you this question. The intention of this question is like when we back home, we have the support from family, for friends. You can hire people like to work for you and all that. So, but in Australia, you have to do everything. You have to do your dishes. You have to do your mopping and cleaning and household thing. And plus, you have to take care of the professional career. Plus, you have to take care of your family. So, being a woman and having those many hands everywhere, how you manage?
well, first find a supportive partner that believes in equality and believes that, a woman also has the same right to have a career.
Yeah.
I think that's
Pretty
very, very important. Then I think is about also putting boundaries, in the sense of, okay, yes, I work hard, but I also play hard, or I rest hard, as in making time for yourself, for your partner, for your family, together, apart. There there are a lot of things that you can do intentionally to make sure that you strike that balance, and whatever balance means to you.
No, great. No, that's understand. Yeah, that's the key. That's the key. So having a supporting partner and having understood that, okay, you have equal rights. That, and girls, that's the key.
Yeah,
Especially when,
and that is for me. Look,
now for everybody,
I
I
think
see that every day. See, being I've got a family, so my wife there, and yes, it is important. Like, I know that I don't help out her in the household course, but I tell her that, okay, if you don't want to work, that's okay, so if you want to stay home, you have a career, up to you. So that's something, I support that way. I'm pretty much settling a new business, so been busy, and I haven't been, I want to accept that I haven't been that supportive on camera. So, but yes, you're absolutely right, having a supporting partner, that's the key. And okay, so now we are moving towards the ends of our podcast. So, and this is the question I ask to each and every guest, and there is after living in Australia for that many years, you have seen the immigration system, how it works and all that, and you see the migrant woman every day. What if you're immigration minister, or if you have a power to change something in this immigration system? What suggestion you do?
I think I will provide support to those migrants that I talk about that gap at the beginning of the conversation, that knowledge gap that is very small and is very easy to cover, and it will yield amazing returns.
Right.
So instead of having a professional migrant, in a job that is below their skill level for 3, 5, or 10 years, if you can get that migrant producing in 1 or 2 years or less, that would be a great outcome for both, the country and the individual.
Right.
So it's recognizing that
Talent.
gap and address it. I think you will get really good results.
Yes.
And again, that's one thing I could do, but there are so many things that can be done. Yes.
And see, there are a lot of things, like, and there we see some improvement these days because of COVID. We lost people, and now government's trying to get more people in Australia, and a lot of people are thinking to get into it. And yes, so this is the key. So the government can take a step towards this initiative, that at least they can recognize the talent, and a recognition of the talent will benefit the country. After all, what we're doing right now is, like, people are coming here from overseas, they study like masters of business, master of engineering, and they don't get migrated, like they don't get the residency here, and they have to go back to their home country. So what we are doing, like, we are providing the quality education to those people in Australia, and we say, okay, to go back to your home country. So we're losing talents.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So that's something, a pretty, key thing. I understand what you're saying, and then that's the thing. And so, from your experiences in Australia, do you recommend someone to get in Australia, or choose another country?
No, look, I think Australia is a great place to live, definitely. And if I go by the many stories that I have heard, a lot of people come here with the intention to go back, and once they come here, they really try to do their best to stay. So but for myself, I came here just with the intention to explore, not with the intention to stay.
Yeah.
And yeah, pretty soon I realized that I wanted to stay here.
Right. So you recommend people to come to Australia and live here?
Check it out. If it's for you, absolutely.
So give it a go. Give it a go, and
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
And see, I hope that during your stay in Australia, your entire journey in Australia, you must have made good finances and all that. So after having this position, this organization, running this organization, having this beautiful career, what you say, does money buy happiness?
Does money buy happiness? No, but it helps.
It helps, yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. So, and what is enough money that is we're looking at in Australia? So what could be the enough just to get started?
Look, no, I no idea. No idea.
No.
And I've been, in my life, I've been, just even as an entrepreneur, living with the minimum that I can. so I can explore my dreams,
Mhm.
or I can focus my attention on other things. So, but the minimum for me might be different to a minimum for somebody else.
Correct.
So, and the maximum for me might be different to
Oh
somebody
no,
else.
maximum is
So,
unlimited. Right. Okay, so before we conclude, I just want to ask this last question. Just give me one sentence, one liner that that can inspire someone, like for the migrants. What is a one liner you say that, okay, do this, don't do this, and whatever you can say. Just the one liner for any migrants who wishes to come to Australia.
well, it's the same one that I said to you before. If you keep taking intentional steps towards your goal, the most likely thing that happens is that you actually achieve your goal. That is one of my mantras. When I struggle, I just keep saying to myself, one foot in front of each other.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Because the most likely thing that could happen is that I could actually get there.
Fantastic. It's the most phenomenal thing. Great. Thank you, Fabiola. Thank you for joining us today. And it is a fantastic talking to you. And I believe that this talk will inspire other migrants and all other women out there who are trying to get in Australia, not just women's and men's. And yes, we request you to do something. You have done fantastic job for women, and please, we poor men, like do something for the men.
They tag along with the women. We know that, and that's amazing. That's great.
Yeah, so they support their women's, and yes, they can get the
and
growth.
the women support their men. So that's amazing.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thanks, Fabiola, and I will get in touch with you. And yes, please, guys, to the viewers, the Undefeated book is an amazing art of work that brings to bring you close to the migrant stories. So please, go and buy the book and have a read. That'll be a fantastic resource for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.